Good morning, everyone. I am Kajal of B.Ed batch 2022-24. Today, we will study about the historical development of inclusion in India. Indian government has taken various initiatives for making the education system inclusive. We will study each of them one by one. First, we will study about the Indian Educational Commission in 1964 and 66. The Indian Education Commission was established in 1994. It was the first statutory body to suggest that the education of handicapped children has to be organized not merely on the humanitarian grounds but also on ground of utility. The Commission observed that although the Indian Constitution had issued specific directives about compulsory education for all, including children with disability, very little had been done in this regard. The Commission also emphasized that the education of children with disability should be an inseparable part of general education system. At the time when the Commission made its recommendation, there were less than 250 special schools in India. The Indian Education Commission set the following targets to be achieved by 1986. Education for about 15% of the blind, the deaf, orthopedical handicapped, and 5% for mentally retarded children. The Commission also specially emphasized the importance of integrated education in meeting this regard as it is cost effective and useful in developing mutual understanding between children with and without disabilities. Next, we will study about the integrated education for disabled children that was established in 1974. In 1974, the Ministry of Social Justice and Employment, Government of India, initiates the Integrated Education for Disabled Children program to promote the integration of students with mild to moderate disabilities into regular schools. Children were to be provided financial support for their books, stationery, transport, special equipments and aids. The government were provided 50% financial assistance to implement this program in regular schools. In 1986, a new policy initiated by the Government of India, that is National Policy on Education. In 1986, the Indian government formulated the National Policy on Education for all government schools and articulated a need to integrate students with disabilities. It emphasized that whenever feasible, the education of children with motor handicapped and other mild disabilities should be provided in regular schools. It also emphasized that the need to restructure primary teacher training program to prepare teachers to deal with the special difficulties of children with disabilities. The next is Project Integrated Education for Disabled that was established in 1987. In 1987, the Ministry of Human Resource Development, also known as MHRD, in association with UNICEF and the National Council for Educational Research and Training, may refers as NCERT, undertook Project Integrated Education for Disabled. The aim of the project was to strengthen the implementation of Integrated Educational Disability Scheme. In 1994, the government initiates a scheme that is District Primary Education Program, a centrally sponsored scheme The district primary education program aims to reduce the overall dropout rates of all students enrolled in primary classes, to raise their achievement level, and to provide primary education for all children, including children with disabilities. This is probably the largest program of the central government in the scheme of funding. In 1995, the act was made by the Indian government that take the attention of children and people towards the inclusive education and towards the disabled children, that is the Person with Disability Act, also known as PWD Act. A close examination of all the national initiatives discussed so far indicates that although the Indian government had made several attempts to implement integrated education programs, it lacked a firm commitment to promote integration. This was largely because of the Indian government had considered provisions for children with disabilities to be a welfare issue rather than educational imperatives. The PWD Act proposed the provision of improved educational services, medical care, vocational training, employment, and social security for all the persons with disabilities. The Act stated that whenever possible, students with disabilities should be educated in regular school settings with regular treatment and equally treated. Later on, the PWD Act is also converted as RPWD Act. Now we will study about the recent initiative taken by Indian government for the inclusion, that is National Education Policy NEP 2020. The National Education Policy was initiated in 2020. It is not only discussed concepts but identifies innovations in bringing equality in education. The NEP 2020 seeks to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunity for all by 2030. It has drawn much attention to the theme of inclusive and equitable education. The UNESCO in its guidelines for inclusion viewed inclusion as a process which is concerned with the identification and removal of barriers of education and ensures the presence, participation, and achievement of all students and their diversities. Even though previous education policies have issued inclusive education to make education accessible to all, there is still a lack of systematic efforts to explore the origins, meanings, and applications of inclusive education in India. Hope you all understood the initiatives that are taken by Indian government for the inclusion in education system. Thank you.